Join in on the fun and grab your glue gun. It's the
Hey
Preppy
everyone,
Crafty
it's
Girl
Jonna, the
Show.
Preppy Crafty Girl, and I am here for a journal flip through. I wanted to do a shop update, and I'm doing some refreshing in my shop. And I'm also getting ready for a live sale with Khadijah. So I'm trying to pull things out of there and put some new things up, and just been kind of working on a few things. But I wanted to share two of my journals that are in the shop right now. By the time you see this, they will be listed in there. And so this first one I have some antique wallpaper. I have an antique wallpaper book, so I did use a sheet of that on here. This is very Tim Holtz heavy. I used some Tim Holtz fabric here and a lot of different embellishments and things, and I hand dyed some seam binding. And so this is the first page or the cover, and the cover is multi-layered, and I've got like an altered playing card in here, and there's like a little journaling spot. I used a lot of really pretty vintage and antique laces. I did some embossing, some fun old antique music paper. I did some collaging. I put in the book spine for this book. It is made with a book, but the cover is not the cover of the book. So you'll see when I get there. I did pocket, a lot of collaging. I did some Tim Holtz dyeing. And then there's this page, got a little cluster over here, and some, I made these on a live. No, did I make a live, or maybe I did a video on this right here? So it's got a French book page, but I did a little belly band to go in that way. You shut this and then you open here, and it has a library pocket with some collage tags, label that you put inside your book, a book plate. And then there is a tea dyed CD. I did some oxidizing of some old paper clips. And here is different collage. It's an envelope. And then here is a coffee stained flashcard. All right, so that's the outside. And then we're going to go this way. And I kept the inside book plate pages because I just thought this marble paper was beautiful. The book, actually, I turned it inside out. This is the book cover. And so here's the end page. And then I put the other end page over here because I had several of these books. And this is Tim Holtz paper, and Tim Holtz made these milk caps, so I put one of those on there. And then here's some collage journaling cards, and that's an old book plate out of a book. And I did some coffee dyeing and a little ruffle, and I stamped with Tim Holtz stamps. And this is a antique ledger that I have, and a pocket. And I did some embossing on a tag. And then this is a Tim Holtz stamp that I just stamped on a old book page. There is a Danish book page and some kind of documents. And then there's a die cut that you can use somewhere in here. And of course I did another tag in that pocket. So lots of journaling space. Here's some dot matrix paper and vintage dictionary. This is a little coin envelope I made out of some vintage music paper. And then here's a little dangle with some different trims and things like that, and a little button. And then it has a little journaling card in here. I put some mixed media paper in here. There is a little sack of Denison labels. These are authentic Denison labels. So I pulled some out from my collection. So there's actually 5 pieces in here. Airmail. Fragile, and then a big fragile. So these will be fun to use in your journal. Here is I don't actually know what those were. I just got a stack of them. I don't know what they're from. And then these are all the other sides of the pages that are in here. Again, another pocket. This is a really sweet little card that someone wrote on the back of it. It was like one of those little, what do you call it? The little tourist postcards. And then I did a little tag right here, and I actually used my seal. I have a seal. I think this one is a notary seal. I've got lots of them, so they're always fun to use. And then here's another die cut. These were Tim Holtz die cuts. So here's a vintage stationery from a photography place. I put in a picture in here that I put on a little index divider and a little fussy cut. And in the back here, there's a little ruffle, some watercolor. And then here is a ticket made of the Tim Holtz paper. And then I did a little feather. That's a Tim Holtz die cut also. And then here is a journaling spot. Oh yeah, I did this little token of love right there, little dangle. Here's an altered paper clip I did with a coin wrapper. Oh my gosh, I did these probably like 3 years ago on a video. I love making those. Oops. And then here's a little die cut. This was Tim Holtz die cut, and I watercolored some paper and then die cut on it and stamped one of his sentiments. So very heavy with the Tim Holtz stuff in here. So if you enjoy Tim Holtz things, here is a vintage postcard and some labels from file folder. These are old. You'll probably have to glue them down. And then this came off of some vintage fabric in that pocket. And then here is this is some old onion skin or typing paper. And then I tied it, this just slides off, and did a little wax seal there with my wax seal set. And then there's this journaling card that I collaged, had fun collaging in here. And here's a little ledger card, a little ruffle there. And then here's some antique wallpaper that I have and some vintage flashcards and a lined vintage Rolodex card. And then this little tab is actually from the book cover. So, and these are old. These are from Tim Holtz. Gosh, had those for years. Pulled out all the Tim Holtz stuff. Some ledger, little tag, Tim Holtz bound flashcard. And then I did a little dangle here with different things. I stamped some, and then these are Tim Holtz. This is vintage, and then that's Tim Holtz fabric. A little die cut butterfly. So I clipped a lot of things in. You can move them around where you want them. This is an old stationery. Here's a doily. This I embossed some cardstock. And then I did a tab up here with a little fabric dangle. And here's another collaged little journal card and that paper doily. And some shorthand. There's all kinds of old book pages in here. I think that was Popular Mechanics, if I'm not mistaken. And some kind of algebra or something like that book. And then a typing, came out of a typing book. There's some vintage wrapping paper, and then one of my altered banner clips. Die cut that I watercolored, and then this is a little pocket that has old I think his name's Mr. Wiggly or something like that. It was a game. It's just an old game card. Is it Uncle Wiggly? I think that was the name of it. And then there's another old book page. And here is a little paper pad. I did a live on how to do these too. So that in that pocket, and that is the back. And that again is the back of this linen covered book. I thought that green was just so pretty. And yeah, so that is this one. And this will be in my shop. And then it's going to have a vintage earring and some kind of closure. I don't know what kind of closure yet, but you'll get a closure with it. I may do some sari silk. I've done that before and it comes out really pretty for this. So here's the other one. And this is very similar. A lot of the same things. I used Tim Holtz products and my antique wallpapers back here. And I did some embossing and things like that in here too. And this one has a lot of space where you can stitch in or however you want to add. So it has a lot of, like, you can add a lot more. It's very expand. So you can add your own. But I love all the antique and vintage trim that I use. This actually came from Italy when I was there. And here's some more antique, like a hanky or something like that. And then here's one of those cards that I made that have the pocket in the back. This was my printable. So I made that, and that slides in here. And here's another journaling spot. This is the spine, so I just added that. If you want to use it as a bookmark, you can. There's a pocket, and I did some distress techniques and layering on the tag. Here, this is an embossed tag that I made, and a little cluster down here. And then this opens up this way, and you get a library pocket again, a journaling card. Then there's that book plate there. And then this opens up and this flips out and is a journaling card in there. And then this is also a little tuck spot in this envelope. And this is rusted. I did rust these. I did some rusting, so that's kind of cool. And you get an oxidized, I did some oxidizing, so you get an oxidized paper clip there. And then flip this way again, beautiful end papers on this book that I used. And then I did a wax seal, little tuck spot there, did some layering and some stamping. Here is a journaling card and a book plate for birds. And here is a die cut. And then this is die cut out of some paper that I watercolored. I love that color. Frames, typing book, vintage stationery I stamped on. This is that really cool book that I had. This is shorthand. And then here is one of these envelopes again, the coin envelope. It's got a little journaling spot in there. And on this one, I dangled a little thing there with some fabric, an oxidized paper clip. This again also has one of those number things that I don't know what it comes to. I don't know what it was from. And then 5 of those Denizen labels are in this pouch here. This has some of this old, what do you call that? Like architect paper, a blueprint. It's of a Holiday Inn, I think, or Quality Inn or something like that. I don't know. Oh, it's a Hampton Inn. I think it was in Georgia or something. Yeah, it's from the old Hampton Inn. So a lot of pretty antique and vintage papers in this. There's an envelope and lots of areas to make it your own too if you like to sketch. You can also take the things out of the pocket and you can add them to the pages if you want. So there's lots of things to do that with. Those file folder stickers. And then here's some Tim Holtz paper. And here's another collaged card. And then a old ledger. This is from an antique from the 1800s ledger paper. 1892. I have this ledger. I've been slowly going through it. Here's an old postcard and a journaling spot back here, or paper just to back a photo with, or decorate a page, make a tuck spot. And then here's one of those altered paper clips that I made. And then there's an Uncle Wiggily card here too, and an old Rolodex, lined Rolodex. Here's some old, beautiful, it feels so wonderful, this sheet music dangle on there, Tim Holtz flash card, and some vintage wallpaper. And this is the dot matrix. Tea-dyed paper. And then this has a cluster down here and a card from a fabric swatch. This is like some kind of contract paper, some Danish paper. This came out of an old photography studio down in Memphis. An altered paper clip and a little flash card, and then some mixed media paper in here. There's a die cut and a die cut feather that I glittered on. So you can have fun with that. I loved this crusty paper that I did. It was so much fun making that. And then there's this little journaling spot. And then here's a picture of a butterfly on an index card. And then here is a little, this is a Tim Holtz die, what do you call those little die cuts? And then it's a little scrap pad in the back here. You can do some extra journaling. And then this is the back. So lots of fun layers and textures. And I think you'll really enjoy working in these journals. I know I've gotten really good reviews when I've made them in the past. So I hope you enjoyed this flip through. And these will be listed in my shop as soon as you see the video. Bye, guys.
She loves creating junk journals, surrounded with vintage things and wallpaper scraps, vintage magazines, and she's just giddy with glue sticks and golden scissors in her hand. But most of all, she's happy when she's crafting with her friends.